right, so this guy here is, not sure if you can see it, but this is what drives the concave height adjustment on this worm gear. There's a big gear at the back, and then there's a small gear off the motor to give it leverage. But for some reason, it's sitting there really loose. So I'm going to try and get it off. Hopefully I don't have to drop everything to achieve that, because to get this out, you put a block in here, then you back this off, and then you take these keepers off, and then the bar comes out. It's a lot of work. I think it might come through there. Or at least we can get it to a point where we can see what's wrong with it. Hopefully. Well, pretty simple. Actually, the bolts rattled loose and we lost one. So I'm gonna go on a mission. It's kind of rounded down a bit. But we'll go see if I can find one around the farm. Well, as you can probably hear, let's see. We're back in the peas. So we are, you probably can't see, we're about 1.5 miles that way. Yeah, just along the highway. One side of the highway was pretty much dead, drowned out, diseased. The other side, not a sniff of disease. It's running probably 60 bushel an acre is my guess. Great, clean sample. To the point where I would suspect we won't even bother cleaning them this year. We'll run them straight through the drill just like this. So I was originally planning or debating on getting a new variety of yellow peas. I don't know now. And I have to figure out what to do about the disease though, because it seems like anything that's had, I shouldn't say it like that. If it's a dry year, it's not a big deal. But if it's a wet year, it seems like anything that's had a pulse in the last 10 years, there's disease there. I'm pretty sure it's a phenomyces. I don't know. You can see there's this disc spot here. That's not because of fire. That's because it was dead. Dad just said, well, there's no point in dealing with that. So, yeah. Something to look into, whether it's some form of seed treatment, because it's a root rot, or maybe post-emergent application, maybe a soil application, I don't know. So, Dad's grain truck, for some reason the air suspension dump is staying dump. I'm not really sure why. We haven't used the grain truck in 5 days-ish. It worked just fine. And then today we went and fired it up. Dad got on the road. I was following with the semi just to have in the field in case. We pulled over, no suspension. We can hear it cycling, but something's got to be stuck. So I'm running the old Volvo today. It works just fine, except for the air conditioning. It's a bit spicy in there. It was actually shaping up to be a decent Monday, but no. Dad picked up a rock somehow, I'm not sure. We actually tilted the deck back to avoid that, and it was fine all day yesterday, and today he was going for about 45 minutes and then picked up a rock. So we bent a vein, bent and broke a vein in the cone around the rotor. It doesn't look like that bad of a job, other than it's like really tight and really awkward. But yeah, the combine is not in the field yet. I'm just walking over to my truck. So we'll get that fixed. Unfortunately, it was on the very last day. I shouldn't say very last, but pretty much the last day of peas, which is where peas and lentils were pretty much where we're most likely to pick up a rock. So oh, the good news is I only had to take out 2 bolts to get to that end. But we're not sure how many that way, and we'd kind of like to keep some there, so I'm going to try and make a cut down at, where am I? Right there, because there's a bolt right there. Problem is I can't see what I'm doing. So I'm going to have to figure out a way. All right, sorry if I sound funny. I had earplugs in, but I'm going to try from this side. Actually, you can see my black lines. At least I can see what I'm doing. It's a long stretch though. Not really sure how well it's going to work. I would also like to do it with a side cutter, but I'm afraid it's going to throw sparks around too much. So I'm going to use a die grinder. It's a little less aggressive. And have waters ready. Well, that's the piece. It should look like a nice smooth helix, I guess. Coil, whatever you want to call it. But it clearly does not. That's about where it hit. And it must have stopped there. Yeah. Oop, I guess I still need to take this guy out. Okay, so I guess I didn't really do that great of a job of explaining. From the feeder housing, I guess from the header cuts and brings everything to the middle. Feeder housing brings it in. There's a beater that kind of helps break stuff up. But then you'll see it gets to these big, they look like boat propellers. And they help to bring stuff back to the concaves, like an auger. These, the vanes, are stationary. And the whole point of them is to help make sure that everything, all the trash, is being moved completely around the rotor. Because the first little bit is where all the separation gets done, but it's not just on the bottom. It rolls around and it'll separate and fall through when it comes back. And so there's even vanes back here, you can see. And all it does is just to help make sure and direct product flowing backwards, because it is slightly uphill. So that's what we lost. That's what that thing was. Now it's just scrap steel. Well, both combines are down right now. We had the 23, we haven't had 2388 in years. 8230. It had that broken vane. We got it back going. It ran for a couple hours. Dad said it had to shut down due to high temperature. Not sure what that's all about. And the 8240's got an issue with one of the chaff spreaders. So rather than doing a mile lap here, I'm bombing straight through the ditch, straight across the highway. Because, because I can. Who's gonna stop me? Nobody. Hopefully this isn't not bad. But yeah, it's just been one of those days. Not sure who to start with, because I'm not sure what the issues are. I just got told, grab the truck. So, Dad, he overheated. Well, not overheated, but the combine got too hot and it went into safety mode and shut itself down. I think it was just from all the thistle fuzz. Just, it cooled right off, no problem. And then Doug put a rock through and bent the impeller on the spreader. So as you can see, this guy caught and got corked up out of square. Well, getting pretty good at changing concaves in a hurry. I feel like I just did this yesterday, but it was actually the day before. But this should be it. This should be the last time we change concaves all year. So I'm happy this is almost done with. Unfortunately, yesterday, with all the shenanigans that were going on, my phone died. And this morning I looked and there was like, well, I shouldn't say my phone. The phone that I'm currently videoing with, because I have my personal phone. I just like this Galaxy a little better for recording, and then it doesn't kill my phone battery. Anyways, I went to fire it up after I finished straightening the impeller on the chopper on the 8240, and it was dead. And so, well, I didn't have a charging cable with me, and I threw it in the truck, threw it on the charger, powered it up this morning, and there was a video that was, I want to say it was an hour and 40 minutes long of just black and mumbling, so, and banging. I put it in my pocket and it was still recording. So you could hear a lot of swearing, a lot of mumbling, a lot of banging, but nothing worth watching, that's for damn sure. So we're switching over to finish off Durham, and hopefully by the time we finish that, if it doesn't rain this weekend, we'll be into the wheat. All right, so we got a quick little detour here. We're doing my little 28 acres worth of barley. I have no idea how it's running out at all. We're using the bottom end of one bag. Dad had a bag that had 7,600 bushel in it, so we should have had room for another roughly 3,500. But you also got to remember that when we cut the bag, we probably lose 800 bushel or a little better, because we need to be able to hook onto it at the end. So, and we do lose a little bit here as well. So we're not really sure. Like I said, there's 28 acres here. If it goes 70, that's roughly 2,100 bushel. Shouldn't be an issue. If it goes 90, that's 2,700 bushel. You're starting to cut it pretty tight. Don't get me wrong, I wouldn't be upset. It's just I'd have to find somewhere to put a couple hundred bushel. I don't know. But I'm guessing it's running out decently. Anyways, we'll be here for like 2 hours, and then we're done. As long as nobody breaks anything. And then we're essentially gonna follow this old railroad bed about 4 miles that way. Probably not even quite that. To my wheat on the other side of town. Dad's got wheat right there. And he's got some, where are we? There, straight that way. So, yeah. My wheat on the other side of town was planted June the 3rd. The stuff straight north, I don't know if you can see that there's two combines. Here, I'll try and zoom. The two combines, John Deere ones over there, those are the East Brothers. They're semi. Wave to Dave. Hi, Dave. He's not looking at me. And I'm guessing Derek is in one of the combines, and I think Larry's in the other. Larry's not an East. Straight north of them, on kind of on the beginning of the hill there, there's some wheat. That's a little over a half section there of wheat. So that was June 3rd, 4-5, and then across on the other side of the power lines, half a mile from here, and then all the way to 1.5 miles from here is Dad's last field of wheat, which was the 6th, 7th, and 8th, I think. And then actually after the 8th we finished here, I think. Can't remember. Brody's coming in. There's some barley. Kind of decent looking. Some bleaching. Some dehulling. Doesn't matter, this is going for seed next year. This is AAC Connect. It's they call it a high yield malt barley. I am getting concerned about how much we got left of that bag, but that's a later problem.